Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to another edition of Crimes of the Week International. Representatives from England's Kent Police say that they are dealing with an extremely unsettling and potentially complex case this week after a man was allegedly beaten to death by a group of teenagers in what has been described as a harrowing attack. The incident began at around 7 p.m. on August 10th when police on the Isle of Sheppey were called about an altercation unfolding in the village of Leysdown-on-Sea. Members of the public called for help after seeing a middle-aged man, later identified as 49-year-old Alexander Cashford, being assaulted by several young people. Witnesses said that the group appeared to be attacking Alexander with rocks and a glass bottle. To their horror, he was then hit in the head with a large slab of concrete. Though multiple Good Samaritans who'd seen what happened ran to help, when police and paramedics arrived, they discovered that Alexander's injuries were incredibly severe. Despite their best efforts, ultimately he was pronounced dead at the scene. Shortly afterwards, 3 teenagers allegedly responsible for the attack, a 16-year-old girl and 2 boys ages 15 and 14, were arrested. A 12-year-old girl was also later taken into custody. In the aftermath of the killing, police announced that the 3 teen suspects had been charged with murder. They also revealed that everyone involved in the situation was from out of town. The 3 teens are from London, and Alexander was also on vacation in the area. It's believed that he was out at the time of the attack and was chased onto the beach close to Warden Bay Road. In terms of what actually started the deadly altercation and what the motive behind it was, so far very little has been released. A couple of local media sources we came across have noted that Alexander had a previous criminal record, one that included a recent stalking conviction. In March, he pleaded guilty to stalking involving serious alarm and distress after following a young woman home and visiting her house twice during the middle of the night. However, at the time of this recording, none of that has been officially linked to this week's tragedy, nor have police said anything that suggests there is a connection. Right now, all of the suspects remain in custody, though the 12-year-old has not been charged. The case remains under investigation. Police in the Indian state of Odisha say that the search for a missing child took a gut-wrenching turn this week after it was discovered that not only was the young victim dead, but his own brother was the person allegedly responsible for the crime. The whole thing began about a month and a half ago, on June 29th, when a 12-year-old boy from the municipality of Titilagarh was reported missing by his worried parents. The parents said that they hadn't seen their son since the day before, and they had no idea where he could be. Police initially feared that they could be dealing with a child trafficking case, but no matter how many searches they conducted and CCTV cameras they checked in the area, they could not find any evidence. It turned out there was a good reason. The disturbing truth about what had happened was unfortunately much closer to home than anyone imagined. The answer finally came when, during one of their interviews with the parents, police learned that on the night of the disappearance, the missing boy's mother came home to find her eldest son, who is 17 years old, washing the floors of the house. Detectives asked the mother if this was something the teen normally did, to which she replied, no. That's when the focus of the investigation shifted. Sure enough, when the 17-year-old was questioned, he confessed that he had murdered his younger brother. He stated that he had stabbed him to death with a fruit knife, claiming that the killing was motivated by jealousy. The teen said he felt neglected by his parents because they always paid more attention to his younger brother. After the killing, the 17-year-old said he washed the floors to clean up the blood and initially buried his brother inside the house. However, he later moved the body under the cover of darkness, believing that if he left the remains where they were, his parents would discover what he'd done. He dug a new gravesite and reburied his brother's body about 300 yards from the residence. Police recovered the body following the confession. However, there may still be more to this story. Specifically, authorities now say they have reason to believe the 17-year-old had been sexually abusing his younger brother prior to the killing, and that the parents knew about this and had been trying to keep the boys apart. At the time of this recording, the teenage suspect remains in custody on murder charges, though more charges are expected to follow as the investigation continues. Authorities in the South Korean city of Daejeon say that an already chilling murder case took a second unsettling turn this week when a man who allegedly killed his former girlfriend showed up at her funeral after evading police. The situation began shortly after noon on July 29th, when the victim, identified only as a woman in her 30s, was stabbed to death in Daejeon's Gojongdong neighborhood. The woman was found in cardiac arrest when paramedics arrived, and though she was rushed to a hospital, sadly, her life could not be saved. It didn't take too long to identify the alleged culprit. Suspicion almost immediately turned to the victim's ex-boyfriend. The man, likewise only identified as being in his 20s, immediately fled after the stabbing, initially escaping in a rental car parked near the victim's residence before switching to a motorcycle in an apparent attempt to throw off police. Authorities initially tracked his movements through CCTV, but lost his trail once he got into an area with significantly less camera coverage. Things got even more disturbing the following day when police were contacted by a funeral home in Seoul District, where the female victim's wake was being held. Apparently, not only did the suspect show up, he actually identified himself to staff members there. Not long after this, police received a second call about a man vomiting in a vehicle nearby. It all started to make sense when officers got there and discovered the suspect near an underpass. He had ingested poison, and it's believed he was trying to take his own life. While the man was unsuccessful, because he was hospitalized, police weren't able to speak to him very much. It seems that all he's told them so far was that he committed the murders because the female victim, quote, disrespected him. That being said, because of the two different vehicles used in the crime, authorities believe they have enough to show that the killing was premeditated. At the time of this recording, police are waiting for the suspect to recover, at which time a full interrogation will take place. Police in Ecuador are investigating the tragic and disturbing murder of a young social media personality this week, after she was killed during the middle of a live stream while broadcasting to her followers on TikTok. The victim, 28-year-old Kayla Andrena Gonzalez Mercado, was spending the evening of Saturday, July 26th, drinking with a close friend. The women were also joined by the friend's boyfriend, later identified as Manuel Andres Alava Lazaro. The evening started off exactly as planned. Indeed, in Kayla's live stream, she initially appears to be laughing with and teasing Manuel. That was still the case when the tone of the jokes shifted, with Kayla making comments about him shooting her. In the footage, she says, quote, "Shoot me twice, I beg you, but later, let me get drunk." And, "You'll hit me in the head twice. You'll kill me in one go. I don't want to suffer. 2 in the head." It seems that Kayla's friend realized something was off before she did, because during this time, she can be heard repeatedly saying no. Well, her instincts were correct, because Manuel wasn't kidding around. By the time Kayla realized that, though, it was too late. At this point, Manuel reportedly pulled out a gun and fired twice, striking Kayla in the head. It all happened right as Kayla began screaming, with everything being streamed live on TikTok. Immediately afterwards, Kayla's friend stopped the stream and rushed to tell Kayla's family what had happened. In the meantime, Manuel fled the scene on a motorbike. At the time of this recording, he remains at large, though police have launched an investigation into the killing. Kayla's family described her as a jokester known for her humor and warmth. She was the youngest of 3 sisters and had built a following on TikTok and Instagram, affectionately nicknamed Gordita, or Chubby, by her fans. Her final TikTok post described her goal to, quote, "continue being a good woman, to walk hand in hand with God, and to be a simple and humble woman without harming anyone." The suspect, Manuel Lazaro, is known locally by police and reportedly has a criminal record including 4 robbery convictions. Kayla's family had never met him before and only recognized him through seeing him around, describing tattoos on his face and neck. At least one of those tattoos reportedly suggests that he could be involved in gang activity. Ecuador's national police are treating the case as a femicide, highlighting the gender-related nature of the crime. Neighbors say the community is still reeling from the incident, which is at least the second known live-streamed killing of a TikToker in Latin America this year. If you're a regular viewer, you might remember that we also covered the shooting death of beauty influencer Valeria Marquez in Mexico earlier this spring. At the time of this recording, police continue to search for Manuel, and Kayla's family mourns a life tragically cut short. Representatives from the Hong Kong police force say that a man is facing charges in connection with a truly stomach-churning case after he was accused of mixing his own urine into bottles of soda and putting them on store shelves. According to police, the suspect, identified only as a 63-year-old unemployed man, contaminated numerous bottles of Coca-Cola Plus and 7-Up with the bodily fluid before sneaking them into several supermarkets in Hong Kong's Sham Shui Po, Mong Kok, and Wan Chai neighborhoods. It's not known exactly how many times he did this, but disturbingly, authorities say this may have been going on for up to a year. It's believed the man targeted the specific stores where the crimes took place, possibly out of revenge after having arguments with staff members there. Disgustingly, the whole thing wasn't uncovered until the end of July, when a 9-year-old boy became ill after unknowingly consuming one of the contaminated beverages. Thankfully, the boy was discharged the same day with no lasting symptoms, though just the thought alone is absolutely revolting. Following a widespread investigation involving extensive reviews of surveillance footage at the affected stores, police were able to identify the 63-year-old suspect. Employees at the supermarkets also reportedly recovered at least 7 bottles of the man's disturbing piss pops. The 63-year-old was arrested on August 9th and now faces charges including administering a noxious substance with intent to injure. In a statement this week, Chief Inspector Alex Yao of the West Kowloon Crime Bureau described the case as serious, emphasizing that it not only threatens food safety, but also public health. He emphasized that testing of the recovered bottles did not reveal any additional contaminants or poisons beyond the presence of the urine. But, how much of a relief is that, really? Authorities have since urged the public to be vigilant, checking that drink bottles are properly sealed and showing no unusual color or volume changes before purchase. If convicted of the charges against him, the 63-year-old suspect could be looking at up to 3 years in prison. Authorities in northern Italy say that they're investigating a complex and disturbing murder case this week after a nurse allegedly killed her own adult son, but said there was a good reason for her actions. The case began on the evening of July 25th when police in the normally quiet town of Gemona del Friuli were called about a suspicious activity at the home of 61-year-old Lorena Venier. Neighbors reportedly noticed unusual movements around the property, though authorities also may have been alerted by someone inside the house. When officers arrived, they made a chilling discovery. Alessandro Venier, Lorena's 35-year-old son, had been murdered there in the basement. Police now say the killing was carried out by Lorena, as well as Alessandro's wife, 30-year-old Melin. According to police reports and the women's own alleged confessions, the pair had tried multiple methods to kill Alessandro. They allegedly gave him a strong sedative mixed in lemonade around 5:30 p.m., but he did not die immediately. Following this, Lorena reportedly injected Alessandro twice with insulin taken from her workplace. When those attempts failed, the pair tried to suffocate him with a pillow before finally strangling him with a cord and shoelaces around 11 p.m. The details only get more unsettling, because after the murder, Lorena allegedly dismembered Alessandro's body in the basement using a hacksaw and a sheet to catch the blood. She told investigators she carefully cut him into 3 parts to avoid blood getting everywhere. Melin is believed to have helped by moving the remains to the garage, where they were covered in quicklime to conceal the smell. Now, you're probably wondering why this happened, and, well, that's where the case takes another turn. You see, according to Lorena, all of this was to protect Melin, as well as her and Alessandro's 6-month-old daughter. Lorena explained to police during interviews that she viewed Melin as, quote, the daughter she never had, and was extremely concerned for her safety as well as the safety of the baby. She claimed that for months, Alessandro had been physically and verbally abusive towards Melin. In addition to routinely beating and insulting her, he allegedly did not believe the postnatal depression she was suffering from was real and made repeated threats to her life. Lorena said that she believed these threats because they were specific. Alessandro reportedly said that he was going to move Melin and their daughter back to Colombia, where she is originally from, and had taken steps towards this. He also allegedly threatened, quote, "I'll take you to Colombia and drown you in the river because no one is looking for you there." Lorena said the plan to kill Alessandro was months in the making and was motivated by a desire to stop him from taking Maylin and their infant daughter and leaving the country. She stated she felt Maylin and the baby's lives were in danger and that, quote, "the only way to stop him was to kill him." Maylin was arrested alongside Lorena and is suspected of instigating the murder. She reportedly confessed as well after the killing. Neighbors in Gemona del Friuli, a town of only around 11,000 people, say that they have been shocked by the news. The mayor of the town told local media, quote, "Nothing like this has ever happened here before. It's a terrible thing. It's heart-wrenching." At the time of this recording, both Lorena and Maylin remain in custody as the investigation continues. Lorena has been charged with murder and concealing a body, while formal charges against Maylin are still pending. A post-mortem examination is scheduled, with results expected to be released in the coming days. Authorities in Argentina released details in a truly nightmarish case this week, following the arrest of a man they say is now suspected of murdering and dismembering at least 5 homeless people over the past 2 months. The suspect, 37-year-old Matias Jurado, was taken into custody on August 2nd following a police raid on his home in the city of San Salvador de Jujuy. The investigation began after police received reports of several missing people last seen near an old bus terminal in the area between June 11th and July 25th. An extensive review of security camera footage showed some of these individuals entering taxis with the same man. One of the drivers of those taxis later led police to Jurado's residence in the city's Alto Comedero neighborhood. What investigators found there was absolutely grotesque. As they searched the home, police recovered bones, blood, skin fragments, and even a nose. Human remains were also found in the food bowls used for Jurado's dogs. During the raid, officers encountered a frightened 16-year-old boy who identified himself as Jurado's nephew. The teenager told police he had witnessed his uncle's chilling crimes, which always took place on Fridays. The boy explained that Jurado would leave in the afternoons, returning at night accompanied by different people he didn't know. According to the nephew's testimony, Jurado would lure homeless individuals with promises of work or drinks, then allegedly assault, kill, dismember, and burn them, disposing of the remains in garbage bags. The boy also pointed to a nearby vacant lot where he claimed his uncle buried some of his victims' body parts. Authorities have confirmed the victims were primarily homeless and mostly elderly. Sadly, this whole thing was not exactly a surprise, though. Jurado reportedly has a lengthy criminal history, which includes armed robbery, threats, and a prior 2004 murder conviction. Neighbors even apparently refer to him as El Machetero, a nickname which refers to his violent behavior and the fact that he's known for carrying around machetes. Jurado has denied any wrongdoing, but was formally charged on August 5th with aggravated homicide and placed in pretrial detention for 4 months while the investigation continues. Prosecutors are currently analyzing DNA samples taken from relatives of the suspected missing victims, hoping to definitively match them to the remains found at Jurado's home. At least 4 family members have provided DNA for comparison, with a 5th expected to contribute soon. At the time of this recording, authorities continue to examine the evidence as the investigation remains in its early stages. Matias Jurado remains in custody as police work to piece together the full extent of this tragic case. The residents of a normally quiet Australian suburb have been left completely stunned this week after 2 of their neighbors were the victims of a horrifying crime inside their own home. The whole thing began shortly before 9:30 p.m. on August 11th when New South Wales police received a call for a welfare check at a home in the Melbourne suburb of Mount Waverley. The caller stated that they heard what they believed were screams coming from a residence on Adrian Crescent. At first, it appears authorities did not believe this was a high-priority call. However, that changed a short time later when they were contacted by another resident. They said that police needed to get there immediately. When officers arrived around 10 p.m., they were greeted by a nightmarish scene. The 2 owners of the home, 39-year-old Athena Georgopoulos and her 50-year-old partner, Andrew Gunn, were dead, Both had been savagely murdered. Currently, official causes of death have not been released, but what we do know is that Andrew's head had been removed and placed onto a spike. Sadly, that wasn't even the most awful detail. Athena was also 5 months pregnant at the time of the killings. After launching an investigation, police were able to locate the man allegedly responsible. That man, 34-year-old Ross Judd, was reportedly seen shortly after fleeing the residence with his 2 German shepherds. It's now been revealed that immediately after the shocking murders, Judd went to a local McDonald's where he ordered food and was witnessed wiping blood off his hands with some napkins. He was finally arrested at a train station about 4 miles away from the crime scene at around 1:40 a.m. after being spotted standing on one of the station's platforms still covered in blood. According to reports, Judd is homeless and also has a prior criminal record. Naturally, the awful crime has left many in the community wondering how something like this could happen. Police have since clarified that they do not believe this was a random attack, and that Judd was known to Athena and Andrew. In fact, he had apparently been to their home more than once. However, no information has yet been put out about how the suspect and victims knew each other. All police have said is that they were not related. In terms of a motive, likewise, almost nothing has been released. So far, all we have are unconfirmed rumors to go off of. Some media sources have speculated that police are looking into the idea that the double murder was motivated by a drug debt. But the most recent reports at this time mention another theory, that the killings had something to do with a dispute over dogs. According to these reports, Andrew Gunn also owned a German shepherd named Dragon, who he was often seen walking with around the neighborhood. Residents in the area apparently told reporters that there had been tension between Andrew and Judd ahead of the crime, and that this may have been caused by an argument over the sale and ownership of other dogs. Again, I want to reiterate that both of these theories are essentially just rumors at this point. And in the meantime, it appears that police are hoping to find possible answers in another strange clue at the crime scene. Specifically, a bunch of spray-painted graffiti messages that were found all over Athena and Andrew's house when officers responded to the initial emergency call. Among those messages were words and phrases such as, quote, "Enough is enough," "betrayal," and "karma has no menu." Regardless, one thing that's for sure is that the crime has left Athena and Andrew's loved ones absolutely devastated. Friends and family are not just having to cope with their loss now, but of the new life that they were supposed to be bringing into the world as well. They say that Athena was just 4 months away from giving birth to her daughter. It would have been her first child, and the whole thing was especially meaningful because Athena previously did not believe she could get pregnant. In a heartbreaking tribute on social media, Athena's mother wrote in her native Greek, quote, "My sweetheart, you left life so unfairly that I still can't believe it. In the last few days, you were so happy. We dreamed together about the granddaughter you would bring to our lives, but suddenly everything came crashing down one night when a killer took your life and the granddaughter that you would have brought us in 4 months. No matter how they've separated us, I will never stop loving you forever. Goodbye, my daughter, in the light of the angels." At the time of this recording, tributes continue to pour in everywhere for Athena and Andrew, as those around them struggle to come to grips with the tragedy. Currently, Ross Judd remains in custody and has now been charged with 2 counts of murder. Before we wrap up, we'd like to take a second to give a huge shout out to everyone who has made it this far into the video. Seriously, thank you so much for watching. If you found today's upload interesting and informative, we'd be honored if you'd consider liking and subscribing, as well as hitting the notification bell and selecting all notifications to stay up to date with our latest releases. If you're looking for additional ways to help support the channel, we'd love to have you join us over on Patreon. Patrons get ad-free and early access to all of our content, as well as 4 additional stories per week for each of our Crimes of the Week and Crimes of the Week International videos. You can learn more at patreon.com/crimezone, where you'll also find some of the fine folks whose names are currently on screen. All that being said, we understand that not everyone has the means to support financially, and that's totally okay. We appreciate every like, sub, share, and comment that you send our way. Once again, thanks so much everyone, and take care.